For 3 years, Katie Mancuso ran the sports management agency called Gray Area Management. As the name of the company ironically suggests, she didn't run it by the book. The entire thing was scheme. A Ponzi scheme. A Ponzi scheme worth over $2 million. Leaning on her looks and her ability to tell lies without a care, Katie conned investors who believed she was representing star athletes from every major sport. The only thing she ever really represented was greed. According to the company's website, Gray Area Management was a marketing firm specializing in brand recognition, strategy development, and market research. Gray Area presented itself as a sports management company, providing professional athletes with endorsements and sponsorships. According to its website, Gray Area boasts clients spanning different sports disciplines, including the NFL, Major League Baseball, and the money-laden NBA. Riding on 11 years of experience, Gray Area, led by Katie, offered to create value, solutions, and results for their clients. The company claimed to have partnerships with big brands such as Nike, Red Bull, Pepsi, Gillette, and Oakley. To an up-and-coming athlete, this sounds like a deal made in heaven. In a letter written by Katie and posted on the company's website, her message is somewhat vague but enticing. She claims that Gray Area was different from other management companies because they didn't have an extensive roster. True to her word, she reported having 38 clients but never revealed any of their names. After all, it is not a breach of privacy. Many athletes are open about their management partners and vice versa. Flaunting their star-studded client list is how actual sports management firms attract up-and-coming players. Coincidentally, a gray area is defined as an area of activity not readily conforming to a category or set of rules. Did Katie know from day one that she'd be weaving a web of lies? How did the name of her company not raise eyebrows from the beginning? Would you hand your money over to a company that operates in the gray area? $2.8 million. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office in Nashville, that's the hefty amount Katie pocketed from unsuspecting investors. Katie lured investors into the gray area by boasting her laundry list of famous clients, but could never back up her claims with any real names. She must have seen herself as some sort of investing magician. She always refused to reveal her tricks. Her biggest trick of all, convincing investors that her company had been awarded marketing contracts for professional athletes across every major sport in America. Katie often overstated Gray Area's assets and promised to repay the investors within 90 days. Additionally, she spiced up the deal by promising attractive interest rates, usually between 15 to 25%. The conniving entrepreneur provided investors with fake invoices that falsely reflected funds owed to her company. According to Katie, brands like Nike, Oakley, and Under Armour owed her millions. How did she keep it going? Well, at the peak of her con career, Katie consistently generated fraudulent documents and data, including invoices and emails, all to make her business appear legitimate. Katie was a master forger, scribbling fake attorney signatures on documents and trying to pass them as confidential attorney-client privilege information. But she didn't stop at lawyers. If there was a signature that needed forging, Katie was there to write it. Between June 2017 and February 2021, Katie illegally solicited funds from at least 26 investors and laughed all the way to the bank with over $2.8 million. Being a Ponzi scheme, which is paying earlier investors with funds from new investors, Katie did repay a few of her earlier victims. Paying earlier investors the money you promised them is how most Ponzi schemes get off the ground. Still, the total loss to later investors stood at about $1.1 million. What's the downfall of every Ponzi scheme? The money well dries up. With free-flowing cash, the boss babe was living life in the fast lane. The 40-year-old Nashville-born and bred Katie knew how to spend money better than anybody. She splurged a good chunk of the money on plastic surgery, expensive drinks, over-the-top hotel reservations, and cars, among other things. Her appetite for the finer things in life was fed by the need to defraud more investors. If Katie Mancuso is found guilty and convicted, she'll be looking at up to 20 20 years for wire fraud and up to 30 years for bank fraud. But until proven guilty in the court of law, Katie remains innocent. Katie's case just hit the headlines, but the SEC is determined to unravel the truth and unmask her for who she is and her wrongdoing. After all, they wouldn't bring charges against her if they didn't have concrete evidence. However, Katie is not the first person to benefit from posing as a sports management agency. Sports management fraud is a breeding ground for people who want quick money without working hard. One of the most famous sports management scammers is Peggy King and her deception of Dennis Rodman. The NBA Hall of Famer was robbed by Peggy King years after she won him over as a trusting client. Peggy built a sports management empire with the creme de la creme of sports stars on her roster. Her client list included Rodman, among other NBA stars and NFL icons like Ricky Williams and Lex Hilliard. Rodman trusted Peggy so much that he handed over control of his bank account. In hindsight, handing over the keys to his account was one of the worst decisions Rodman ever made. Rodman had the power cut to his Florida condo after not paying his electricity bills. Then, he found a court order in the mail after failing to pay his child support. Peggy blamed Rodman's financial woes on his spending habits. However, as his financial manager, Peggy was in charge of paying these bills with Rodman's money. Instead, she spent it on herself. The most questionable purchase on Rodman's bank statement? A Victoria's Secret shopping spree. Peggy's run-in with Dennis Rodman is only scraping the surface of her devious schemes. However, her scam went unnoticed for so long that she almost got a reality show on BET. You can watch the full video on the Peggy King story here. In yet another sports management incident, NEVIN Shapiro graced the headlines for all the wrong reasons, thanks to his orchestration of a multi-million-dollar Ponzi scheme. Shapiro raked in $930 million through his scheme, targeting University of Miami athletes, bigwig investors, and professional athletes. He enticed young players to attend the University of Miami with cash and favors, an act known as boasting that coincidentally exists in the gray area of NCAA regulations. He even purchased a state-of-the-art yacht to host his lavish parties. At the peak of his illicit business, Shapiro dined with Shaquille O'Neal, Dwayne Wade, and Kevin Garnett. Through his firm, Capital Investments, Shapiro claimed he traded wholesale groceries. He attracted several investors, promising to pay them 10 to 26% commissions every month. However, it was all a sham. Now, millions of dollars in debt and facing an extensive prison sentence, Shapiro's scam was over. You can catch his full story in this video here. Click to watch one of these next videos.